Well, this is it's a real honor to have you both here at UNCA. This is Endless Field. We have Jesse Lewis and Ike Sturm with us. You guys both live in New York at the moment, right?
Yeah.
And you're associated with a record label that has been making waves in the jazz world as a kind of ecologically oriented record label called Biophilia Records. And this is their latest production, which is, can you explain this a little bit, Jesse? What
Sure.
Is?
Yeah. So this is called the Biofolio, and which is the product that all of the Biophilia Records albums turn into, and it's basically part of the mission of the label is to have all the artists, in addition to creating albums, to be going out and doing community outreach and environmental projects. And just positive things for the planet. And so our friend Fabian Almazan, who's a great pianist, he came up with this label. He wanted to reduce plastics, so as part of the mission there's no actual CD on the inside, so it just folds out to a beautiful like origami inspired design.
Beautiful.
And on each one you get a download code, and so you download the music in that way, and it's really cool. It's a cool way for people that come to see a show and they want to take something home. They still can, even though we don't have an actual disc, and it's a really cool package. Is
this something that has caught on? Do you feel like this is trend setting in any way?
It's been a really interesting thing because. I think it's really interesting, and it's a great. One cool thing about it is it's just a great conversation starter, because people. I think there's some people that feel strongly that they really love the idea, and there's also kind of an older guard that is really not into it. I know that in promoting the album, there's a lot of publicists that still are like, you send them that, and they're like, what is this? There's no CD like that. It's like they're just not. They're not ready for that yet. But I think part of the idea that the label had is to kind of force this point, which is like maybe we're beyond this.
Yeah.
And the creator of the label, Fabian, he's really been strongly convicted to, even though there may have been a lack of coverage for some things, there's some writers that don't really want to deal with the label. He's just said, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is who we are, and they'll catch up. And it started to happen as more releases have come out on the label. People they know about it now.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
And how many artists does he have signed now to the label?
A dozen or so?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's putting out about
sure
5
exactly.
a year.
And they're all oriented in some fashion or another toward environmentalism or ecological awareness at some level, either in their activism or in the music itself. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's somewhat of a range of everyone is involved on some level. So that's sort of when you sign up, it's like, okay, I've agreed to become a part of, these different activist events or volunteer events and things that Fabian's putting together. But I think one cool thing about, for us personally, is that our project has actually evolved and grown as a result of that association. So I think we've taken it very seriously and really integrated some of those ideas, and it's helped us to grow and maybe push things beyond where we might have gone on our own.
That's interesting. So you came to the label as a certain kind of musician, maybe with certain kinds of interests, but then the label has allowed you to grow into that.
I mean, we
direction.
actually came to it with those specific interests. That was like really designed into it. But I think the questions that he's posed and some of the activities has like begged the question, what else could you do, or what other directions could this travel?
Good.
And so it's been fun.
Now you both are trained as jazz musicians. It's something you probably still do on the side from time to time.
Yeah.
Not doing this.
Yeah, a lot. Actually, one hope we had with this project is that we could really put our heart into this, but that it might also spur other projects and other branches that would kind of grow out from this. And it's totally worked so far. I mean, we've been starting to get called as a band. We get to, Endless Field ends up playing with these other artists that have asked us to kind of, contribute to what they're doing. And then also just, we've started getting called for other jazz things too, just because people maybe are more aware of some of the things that we're doing. And so it's been, especially after this summer, we started doing our adventure this summer, the phone started to ring a little bit more. I think people were, intrigued by what was happening out there. So
Yeah.
it was cool.
Well, I mean, this may seem incongruous to some of the viewers here. Jazz on the one hand, and ecology or eco music on the other hand. And I have an interest in this nexus myself, and I have a series of albums in my collection, and I just wanted to run these by you and see what you think of them, and maybe get your responses since I have you here. If that's
Yeah,
okay.
of course.
So this is Jan Garbarek, a Norwegian saxophonist who's on ECM record label, and this one is called Dis, where he plays saxophone, and he's dialoguing with an Aeolian harp that's placed in Oslo Fjord. So he's dialoguing with. Any comments on that, or any thoughts on that in terms of your own musical directions?
How much time do you have? So for me, I have this vivid memory of, I've loved Jan Garbarek since I was a kid. My dad had a ton of ECM records, and so I've been listening to that for my whole life. But when I was about 19, I played on a cruise ship, like in a world cruise. We went all over the Mediterranean and Northern Europe. And the first day that I ever got to go to Norway, I woke up, it was really early in the morning, and I went into this town called Flum. They say Flum, it looks like Flam, F-L-A-M. And but I went in, and it looks like another planet. It's just unbelievable. It's all fog, and it's a really magical place. And I went in, and there's like a little bookstore. There's hardly anyone that lives in that town. And in the little bookstore where you'd stop, it would be like going into a 7-Eleven or something here, and there's Jan Garbarek CDs. I was like, where am I? What's going on? It's such an incredible place, and they really take that like folk and homespun music so seriously, and so it was really wild to see that. And I've just always been moved so much by that, his like expansive concept, It's amazing. I'm actually gonna be in Oslo in a couple days, next Tuesday.
Oh, great.
I'm gonna be there, so I love that place. So.
I started off with the right album. All right, let's go on. Actually, I'm going to go with this one. This is still from the 90s, before this was really a big cultural conversation, and it's Sonny Rollins, and he has an album called Global Warming. And when you listen to it, it just sounds like regular old jazz. But you can tell he's trying to put this conversation on the map. Any thoughts on that one?
If you can call Sonny Rollins regular old jazz. But yeah, I'm with you. I know what you mean. But it's true, right? What's the context? Like, you wouldn't know that that's what he's thinking about, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. He's using his music as a way to start the conversation.
As a platform. Yeah.
Right.
How about this one? This is not super commercially available. She's on Artist Share, but she's a very popular arranger and a really beloved figure. Her name is Maria Schneider, and she has a cut on this album called Cerulean Skies with Donnie McCaslin, who plays on your album on saxophone, and some others. And this incorporates birdsong into the actual fabric of the composition. Any thoughts on that?
Maria's a good friend of mine and our family, and Maria actually, I went to the gig when this was released at Jazz Standard, and she handed out about 100 little like bird call, like little instruments where everybody whistles and things that people could blow. So there was a moment where she instructed the audience to sort of be a part of it, and I have goosebumps thinking about it. It was pretty cool.
So have you all experimented with that in your own performances, which are essentially duet performances, lots of acoustic, some other kinds of things happen on this album, but the videos I've seen are basically you two. Mm-hmm. But have you incorporated maybe not only the sounds of the environments that you play in, but also the sounds of the audiences, or tried to solicit audience involvement in the process?
We have. I'm remembering one memory of this was kind of in the early days. We played in Brooklyn at Shapeshifter. I don't know if you remember this, and actually Nadia played with us, she plays with Maria now, but there was this moment where we were playing this ballad, and sometimes I'll start singing or kind of chanting or singing, and I just felt like I wanted everybody to be singing. Mm-hmm. So I just I didn't say anything. I just sort of like put it out there, like, and it like worked. Like, people, like the whole audience was singing without even talking about it. It was really awesome.
Yeah, that's really.
Do you remember that?
We should, yeah.
So
I was gonna say we should
idea.
try that more, but it was just it was perfect in that moment.
It's hard. You never know. You never know. I mean, that night we were kind of like hometown, and we knew some people there.
Yeah.
It's hard to know, like, if people would be really into that invitation, or would they know what to do with it, or would they be like, I don't want to be doing that. You know, I mean, I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think it's a real icebreaker. I remember seeing Chick Corea when I was young, and the very first thing he did, he had a trio, and he came out, and he just got the whole audience
Involved.
just clapping right away before he even played a note. He got the whole singing, and then like singing a line, and then he sat down at the piano and started playing along, and it was like everybody, the place, the energy was just. So I think that's great. You know?
That's good.
Well, do you all have I mean, this is kind of a loaded question, and it's piggybacking on the one I just asked. But do you have an ideal performance frame for your music? You know, you have recordings and videos that are accessible online, and I should mention that if you go to endlessfield.com, you can find all of this wonderful stuff. But do you have an ideal, say, performance setting for the duet music that you perform?
For me, it's
Maybe what we just did.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea of being able to do actual performances in wilderness areas.
Yeah.
That's something that we've worked on and tried to make happen. That I mean, we've been working on trying to do this idea of having people meet like at a location and hiking in somewhere together, and then having like a little concert. It's like a whole experience. The one thing I would say is that my favorite things have always been really intimate. Intimate venues where I feel like our music has a kind of like very subtle immediacy that I mean, I hope it could be translated in a larger theater or something, but for me it always feels the best like in a smaller space where somebody's right in front of you, and like, I just love that. That's for me.
Yeah.
I mean, because it looks like you're trying to transform the culture in lots of different ways, and maybe one of the ways to do that is to begin to, I'm just thinking out loud here, but to begin to think about alternative ways that this music might be, you know, received and
Yeah.
and so
We just talked with the students here about, because we played down by the river here, and literally in the river. I mean, we were sitting on rocks and water moving past us, and we talked about how, I know for us it's so moving to be in that environment with this intimate group and gathering. And we talked about how it's pretty rare. It seems countercultural to like have this sort of informal gathering where people are sitting on the rocks and you get together, but it wouldn't be that difficult to organize something like that. And so we were just sort of encouraging, I guess, ourselves and everyone there to say, hey, how could we do this more often? How could we make this happen? Because it's a powerful experience to gather like that, you know. And
well,
connected to
I'm
everyone.
sad I missed it, but for those of you who didn't know, there's an ethnomusicology class that's being taught here that went out into the botanical gardens at UNCA and listened to these two perform next to the stream there, which probably was amazing.
It was fun. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to just say it is powerful. Even it's, you know, just even with a small group of people of 20 people, it's like a real moment it's unique to that surrounding, and it's something that really will not be replicated. It's really cool. I mean, I'm thinking about what you're talking about just thinking outside the box, and like, you know, I think we're just trying to find ways to combine things that we love, which are making music with each other, and we love being outdoors and being in the wilderness, and if there's ways to combine all that stuff, you know, that's cool.
And I think what we've noticed is, there's a selfish aspect of that, of like, wow, we love all these, how can we keep doing this? But the times where we've seen the intersection of all those things, we've noticed that people have felt, we've gotten this feedback of, this is healing to me, or this is encouraging to me, or, you know, all of these things, and it's like, wow, all those things are coming together, like we need to pay attention to that, something is happening here. And so it's been fun to kind of pursue that. Yeah.
Well, one of the ways that your music is going to galvanize community here at UNCA is we have a UNCA string quartet that is going to be playing your music, and you have an open rehearsal tomorrow, that's Friday, from 8 to 9 a.m., I believe, kind of bright and early, but then the performance is going to happen at Little Jumbo, which is 241 Broadway, close to downtown, and that's going to be at 1 p.m., free for students, and $10 admission. And can you tell us a little bit about that performance and what that's going to entail?
I think we're going to be, there are a few of these pieces that have never been recorded in this current form with string quartet. We've arranged these pieces, that some from this album, and then some from our new album that has yet to be released, that include strings. And strings are just such a beautiful way to just kind of lift everything. And so for us, every time we have a chance to do this, we've done it several times now with strings, and it's just, for me, there's kind of nothing better than that, And it's also, I love the community aspect of meeting new players and coming together and finding this new, dynamic kind of relationship that happens when you make music with new friends, So I really like that. And then we'll also be playing mostly music from in our duo music, stuff that has not been released yet, that we recorded in Utah this summer.
Oh, exciting.
So, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that experience in Utah?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we went in August. We went out to Utah with the idea of recording an album for Biophilia Records, completely in the wilderness. So we had a really amazing team, 2 videographers and 2 audio engineers that put together basically a portable recording studio that was powered off of a solar-powered battery. And we didn't even know. We had done a lot of tests, but we were definitely not sure that it was all going to work out. We hoped it would. And basically each day we went and sort of sought out a different kind of diverse location, somewhere like in a forest, by a waterfall, in the desert, on top of a mountain, and we recorded a song for the album in each of those locations. And in addition to that, we recorded just free material, whether like playing around the sounds of the birds, or the sounds of wind coming through the tree that we were next to, and so it was a huge success. And so we recorded an album, and actually the really cool thing is every single song on the album will have an actual video in the location of the performance. So if you listen to the album, you can actually go and see exactly the performance where it was recorded.
That's neat. Yeah.
And so can kind of bring people on the journey a little bit.
Yeah.
And all the proceeds from the album are going to be donated to the Natural Resources Defense Council,
amazing.
the NRDC. So it's kind of a way to kind of make an artistic statement with our music, just and kind of direct people towards an issue that is important to us, and kind of in our own way. Right. So so that will be coming out in June on Biophilia, and it was really cool. It was an amazing experience.
So some of that music is through composed and was composed beforehand and then put into the new setting, and then some of it was inspired in the moment by that setting and improvised.
Interestingly, all of it was inspired definitely in the moment. We noticed that when we went back and heard it, every piece was really dramatically affected by where we were. So we had this song that we recorded up on a cliff, and I don't know what happened, but we took it way faster than we've ever had reason to take it. And we noticed now that your adrenaline and being up in that space and windy and just being kind of literally almost kind of threatened, like where we were in that space. The music came out really beautifully, but very there was a real edge to it, literally, and kind of something about it, like a vulnerability that really came through. And then on the other end of the spectrum, playing by a stream or somewhere in the woods that felt very sheltered, and we could really relax and on a different level. So the music got more extreme actually from what we had planned in terms of the composed music. But then we left room every day to do some improvising and some free improvising. And I know for myself, I going into it, I just thought, that was just going to be this extra layer that maybe we would explore. But now that we go back and kind of mine our resources that occurred, that we were able to find out there, there's really some interesting stuff, because you notice how, there were birds around us, and I did a duet with this bird, literally, it was completely engaged with what was happening, and I would definitely never. We noticed yesterday there was one take that sounded completely abstract and different from anything we've ever played. And I was trying to remember what happened, and I remembered that there was a bug or like a bee or fly or something right around my ear. And so when I started playing, I was just like trying to play what was literally in my ear. And so Jesse's like, "Wow, Ike, what are you playing? Where is that coming from?"
Yeah.
And I'm just literally just trying to imitate what I'm hearing, you know,
Yeah.
in my ear. And so just little moments like that where we were given a lot of material, and we were just sort of part of that, and we tried to sort of be vehicles to, you know, to sort of pass that along and bring people along on that trip, you know.
So that actually leads me to maybe one last question that will and hopefully segue to you. Perhaps we can get you to improvise just a little bit for us in here.
Sure,
Show,
yeah.
show us your methodology. It's incredibly quiet in here, and so maybe there'll be different things in your ear or whatever.
Yeah.
But I would like to talk just a little bit about, I don't know, the compatibility of jazz and improvisation, especially maybe with the concerns that you have and with the ability to play in different environments. And I know that's kind of a quasi-philosophical
Yeah.
question, but I think it's an incredibly relevant one right now. And I think that it's great to see you engage with this question. And I know that people like Jan Gabarek and Maria Schneider and a growing kind of community of people are interested in this nexus between improvised music and being able to tune in maybe a little bit more to your surroundings and maybe cut the environment in as an equal partner in the creation of the music. And I don't know if you want to speak to that at all, or
Yeah. I guess the first thing that comes to mind is when we set out to do this, I was concerned about, you know, the nature as being this, maybe being overly simplified, like, oh, we're going to have nature sounds on a recording. There's kind of a
Yeah.
connotation where that can go in a certain direction. So I was mindful of that, but as we got into these environments and we started seeing how our music changed based on where we were and based on the environments and then the free improvisations and all that, I completely let go of that fear, because I realized that people are really affected. I have goosebumps thinking about what we just did of being out by the river, because I know all of us were affected in our own way by being in that setting. And so, you know, people are going to process that in their own way, but I think what happened for us out there was really legitimate and was really powerful for us. And so we're hoping that, I think the way that we're going to present that is going to be is going to allow people to receive that in an honest way that's not forced. And that's like, you know, it really was truly part of it. And I think the idea of what we're trying to share is that we listen to each other a lot when we're improvising, and we were also opening ourselves up to the environment. And so there's a meta level to this of, like, you know, if we're able to really listen to the world around us, like in our personal relationships, that's powerful. But even in these, you know, environmental issues, it's powerful, because we give voice to the wilderness, or we give power and meaning to these places that are really sacred. And I think we just we try to encourage people to enter this conversation of, you know, we all hold things in the wild dear, whether it's animals or, you know, or the environment, and the ways that our children participate in it, or, you know, everyone has some kind of connection to a point of contact with the wilderness and with our planet. And so I think if we listen to each other and we find those points of contact, then the politics surrounding it, or the baggage that all of us bring to the conversation, can hopefully be diminished and like allow real conversation to happen, you know.
wonderful.
So people can move forward.
Thank you. Jesse, any further thoughts?
That was very well said. Yeah, I mean, I just think about just you know, what you're talking about. I feel like improvisers, musicians that improvise, there's some certain elements that can really, that are well translated to making the world a better place, right? Like, what do we, as improvisers, we have to listen to each other, right? We have a spirit of giving, right? And everything that we do comes from a place of love, right? It's like, those are like the elements of what improvisers do. And all of those things are also what we need in our interpersonal relationships, and what, we need to listen to each other. We need to do things in the spirit of love and in the spirit of giving. So it's like, I feel like improvisers, like we kind of get that intrinsically. Like that's what we focus on through our music. So it's not, I'm looking at all these albums on your desk, and it's not surprising that people make the connections,
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
I appreciate your candor. Appreciate you sitting down with me. It's a real pleasure to be able to. I mean, as a fan of this kind of music, it's a real pleasure to meet both of you, and I can't wait to hear.
Me too.
I can't wait to hear the concert at 1 p.m. once again on Saturday at Little Jumbo with the UNCA String Quartet. This has been Endless Fields. Endless Field, and it's the website is www.endlessfield.com. And this has been Ike Sturm and Jesse Lewis. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's awesome.